but does it meet company values?
Japanese is apparently a profanity word according to Sony. The author of the Redo Healer light novels tried to publish the English version, but refused light novels. I can't understand why Sony says Black Lives Matter instead of the proper.
How did we get here? It is kind of strange when you think about it. 10 to 15 years ago, it still seemed anime was somewhat niche, but now it's found its way into the mainstream, and there really isn't a platform online where you can go where nobody would know about it. It seems that everybody nowadays watches anime, but is that a good thing? Is it for the best that everybody is talking about anime? My personal belief is that anime going into the mainstream was a mistake. I suppose that statement might be a bit controversial, at least for some of you. You may have just heard one of the most outlandish things you've heard all day. So let me explain. Let me take you on a journey of anime's rise in the West and elaborate on why anime in the mainstream just might be the death of anime. You know how the old saying goes, careful what you wish for, because you just might get it.
Apparently, anime is being banned all over the place, including Pornhub.
You want to ban Dragon Ball once again?
South Australian Senator Sterling Griff spoke in front of Parliament complaining about anime and manga he considers to be so offensive that they should be outright banned.
This is the manifestation of every dream of those who wanted anime to go mainstream.
So, how did we get here? We have to go back to the year of 1963. And the premiere of Astro Boy. At this point in time, the landscape of television that consisted of animation was largely ruled by Warner Brothers and Hanna-Barbera. This would change when producer Fred Ladd received a phone call in 1963. You see, Fred had been responsible for bringing over foreign properties to the US, and now NBC was asking for help with Tetsuwan Atom, and it was pretty successful. Following this success, more shows were brought over, such as Gigantor and Speed Racer. This would be different in comparison to our friends across the pond, who wouldn't receive anime until the 70s, with Mazinger Z in Spain. But this is, after all, just the beginning. Not much would change for America until the 1980s. Why this is might be a bit confusing for some, until you realize the only way most people around the world could watch movies or TV shows were through re-releases and reruns. You could not own any movie or show yourself, until 1975 with the introduction to the Betamax and the future with physical media.
フロントローディングになった。ボタン操作を左右に分けた。本当に？
At this point, fans could now record their own favorite shows and save them for later, and it would continue to evolve with VHS. Not only were fans producing copies of some of these shows, but license holders could now as well with the Betamax and VHS. And pretty soon, before we knew it, anime slowly but surely was trickling into the West. Now fans could watch things like Fist of the North Star and Bubblegum Crisis that hadn't made their way on television. Well, at least not yet. And despite all this, anime would still be relatively underground. While we did get things like Nausicaa and the Valley of the Wind released into theaters, albeit with some small changes, it was still very niche until
We call it
Tsunami.
And then along came the 90s. This would be the dawn of a new age for anime. As companies like Funimation and Central Park Media came to prominence, we also saw the rise of shows such as Samurai Pizza Cats and Ranma 1/2, with the help of Canada's Ocean Group. Just as things were leveling out, along came Toonami. Wow, this guy can't get away from Toonami, huh? As they aired Dragon Ball Z and Sailor Moon, the anime fandom would explode. A new generation of boys and girls would come to know anime. And not too far behind was 4Kids and Pokemon, who had made it into every household, and whose film ended up being the #1 anime film in the US box office for nearly 2 decades. As the 90s came to a close, something that was in the background had begun to grow. Something that was still developing, but now it was reaching its apex. I'm of course talking about the internet. What began in the late 1950s as advancements were being made for the Cold War would soon evolve over the coming decades as we entered the 1990s. What at the time was a small network of information would become the tool that we've all become addicted to. Sir Tim Berners-Lee would finally give the internet its final form when he proposed his idea for what he would call the World Wide Web. But this isn't a history lesson on the internet, so let me return to anime. Thanks to the World Wide Web, anime fans could now communicate on forums, and entire websites could be dedicated just to talk about anime, as well as anime news that could discuss things that the majority of fans just didn't know about. things continued to improve as the video players became more commonplace in the early 2000s, and even YouTube would make its debut in early 2005. This would give fans access to Japanese and English anime clips, as well as AMVs. It's funny, around this time it seemed you couldn't escape Cascada's rendition of Megan Riley's song, Every Time We Touch. But now we finally made it. As websites with video players began to grow, we would see the rise of online streaming with Netflix, Crunchyroll, and Funimation. So, we finally caught up to present day. Albeit I may have glossed over a few details, but we're here. Thanks to the internet, anime is popular. So, now what? Why might I consider this the death of anime? Truth be told, I've already been talking about it. The internet is partly to blame. As it continued to grow, so did the presence of social media. Before, people could connect through writing letters to one another, and later, they could call one another using telephones. But now, thanks to the internet, you could connect with anyone from around the world. And although this was mostly a net positive, it did bring with it a downside that I don't think anybody predicted. Anonymity. Now, anonymity by itself isn't the worst thing. It does provide privacy, however, it has led some people to becoming the most toxic and destructive than they would otherwise be. There's no filter on these people, like there would be if they were in person. Which brings us back to anime, and how all eyes are on it, because it is now in the mainstream. Anime, for the most part, has always been tailored to the Japanese. But as the years go by, it seems to be moving slowly towards a worldwide audience, which, to be clear, is not by itself bad. As a result of all this, anime is more accessible than it's ever been. No longer do you have to talk to your friend Bill to see if that new series has been fan-subbed. Now, you don't have to go to Blockbuster Video for that one show you heard about at school. And no longer do you have to rush home from school to catch that one anime on TV. There are positives with anime being as popular as it is. I've just become more and more afraid of the negatives that come along with them as the years go by. Because, and this is gonna hurt a little bit to say this, anime isn't for everyone. Not everyone will enjoy anime. Now, I used to think that there were plenty of genres of anime that just about anyone can enjoy. But in recent years, I've come to understand that there are certain things in anime that not everybody will tolerate. Whether it's the lollies, its depiction of women and men in certain series, or just cultural differences between East and West, anime can't be for everyone. When anime is made for everyone, it starts to lose its edge, its beauty, its soul, its heart. Do any of you remember that episode of SpongeBob called Not Normal? In that episode, SpongeBob tries to become normal, and as a result, he becomes something almost unrecognizable in his search to become quote-unquote normal. I don't want this to happen to anime, for it to be sanded down and smoothened out, for its holes to be filled in and become sterile. It just wouldn't be anime anymore. Wouldn't this make you a gatekeeper then? I suppose so, but not in the way that you would think. A few months back, a family friend came over and brought her daughter. When they came by to visit me in my room, her daughter was really excited to see all the anime that I've collected. She lit up like a Christmas tree. Was I mad? Was I upset that this girl was wanting to get into anime? No, I was really excited. I like to share the joys of anime. And then it hit me. I don't wish to play gatekeeper to individuals, but I will against corporations and groups. Corporations like Sony who wish to dominate the world with anime and will toss aside a series because it doesn't meet their quote-unquote standards. And groups who will go online and spread misery because they don't like certain things in these anime and think it shouldn't exist. Just recently, people online tried to cancel Rebecca from Cyberpunk Edgerunners. Now, to be fair, the creators of the anime refused the demands of the people online, as well as CD Projekt Red, the developers of Cyberpunk. Now, you could say that these are just trolls, and some of them could be, but I believe that a lot of them are genuinely bothered by this stuff. Why did I take you through all this if I could just sum it up with the internet? I want you to think about that. How did anime start in the West? It started with Astro Boy, an Americanized version of a Japanese property that had been edited down for a general audience. If we're not careful, this might come full circle. And just when we had gotten away from cousins and jelly-filled donuts. Now, instead, we have Gamergate Creepshow in Prison School, and patriarchal societal demands in Dragon Maid. This doesn't even cover the problems with Japan. If I were to blame everything entirely on the West, I think it would be a misrepresentation. As anime becomes more popular, the demand only grows. Animators, who are already underpaid and overworked, will suffer even more. And this is mostly due to Japanese business. I won't even lie about that. It's just the way things have been, and it's time for that to change. I think the anime industry might crash if things continue to go this way, and there will be nothing we can do to stop it. So it seems we've opened up Pandora's box, and we can't close it. We've shared the joys of anime, and for our troubles, it's slowly becoming less and less enjoyable. But truth be told, it was inevitable. At some point, we were going to get here. So honestly, I'm not blaming you or me. Honestly, it's in our nature as humans to share things that we enjoy, to share things that we love. At times, we can't keep something to ourselves. We have to tell somebody. We have to show somebody.
You're already here. Just, speak your mind.
Because what we've just seen is something remarkable. If we enjoyed it, then surely others will as well. We shared with friends and built a community. So, if you're like me, we'll still be here, even if anime has reached the mainstream. And even though this may have caused the death of anime, we'll be here until the end.
When we're surrounded with allies, it's easier to stay positive about the future. Think of it this way. If we're clumsy, then we may stumble and bump into things. But as long as we have faith in our future, we continue marching forward. Our inner strength emerges on its own. But we have to choose that path and pledge to live our lives to the fullest.
Hey guys, thank you so much for stopping by. Hey, I appreciate you checking out this YouTube channel. If you wouldn't mind too terribly, hit the subscribe button. I'm really close to reaching 1,000 subscribers. If we could do that by the end of the year, that would be great. Also, if you didn't agree with the video, please list in the comment section down below why you didn't. And have a great day. Leave a like. Take care now. I'll see you next time.